Marketing 431, and I'm not sure what we're going to talk about today. Let's find out together. See if this works. No, it doesn't work. I suppose it will work better if I plugged it in. There we go. Ooh, wow. HDMI. There we go. So we're going to start talking about products. This is the first element of the marketing mix: product, price, promotion, distribution, which are the tools that we use to create need-satisfying offerings. And product is probably what you most think about when you think about marketing, because kind of that's what it's all about. So we're going to talk about what is it, give you a couple of definitions. One's a textbook definition, which is important for multiple choice tests. And the other is called the levels of the product. This was an approach developed by Phil Kotler, who's kind of like the guru of marketing. This is a good definition. A product is a bundle of tangible and intangible attributes that provide value to customers in exchange for money or something else of value. And I think that's a good textbook kind of definition, because it really does cover all of the bases of what a product should be. We had talked about attributes before, which is just things that you can talk about. And a product has both tangible things that you can touch and feel, and intangible things that you can't touch and feel. I've got some interesting discussions going on with colleagues about whether it's possible to have an intangible product, or whether we know it's impossible to have a purely tangible product, which we'll talk about when we get to services. So it's kind of both, things that you can touch and things that you can't touch. And the key here is it's customers' perception of value determines whether or not it's worth something to customers. This gets into this thing about features versus benefits that we talked about a long time ago. Features are things that you have control over, that you can put into your products. Benefit is the value that customers get out of the features that you put in. Just because you put in a feature doesn't mean it's going to add value to the customer, because customers are selfish. And that leads to, we talked a little bit about stupid customers in consumer marketing, where you have the best product, but they're too stupid to understand it. Probably not because you have stupid customers, but probably because you're focusing on the attributes that you're building into the product and not focusing on what the customers see in the value of your product. On the business side, we don't call them stupid customers, we call them disloyal. So a business customer who doesn't do business with anymore because they're getting a better deal somewhere else is disloyal. Because obviously they would be doing business with us because we have the best product. So that's a nice textbook definition, but if you were starting a business, would that help you come up with a product idea? Well, let me answer that question for you. No, it wouldn't. It's just kind of describing what it is. This is the levels of the product, sometimes called layers of the product concept, developed in part by Phil Kotler. And what I find useful about this is it looks at the product in terms of three levels: a core product, the actual product, and the extended product. The core product is the basic need that you are satisfying for a customer. And a single product can provide different core benefits to different customers. So for example, a cup of coffee. What is the benefit of a cup of coffee? It wakes you up. Tastes good. Any other benefits to a cup of coffee? Anybody need something to do with their hands? It gives you something to do with your hands rather than putting them in your pockets. But again, a simple cup of coffee, for some people it's a stimulating beverage. For some people it's a warm, good tasting beverages. For some people it's a social occasion, a chance to get together. But the idea is understanding what benefit people get from that coffee allows us to do segmenting and positioning, because each customer has a different benefit. Each customer who sees a different benefit might possibly lead to a different segment. So for example, there are people who like coffee because it tastes good, but they don't care for the caffeine. decaf. So we come up with a product for that segment. It's coffee without caffeine. The actual product is what's in the box. Okay, and I call the actual product a benefit delivery system. So, for example, we all have coffee in the morning. Who has coffee in a cup? Okay, many of us. Some of us just do the IV or snort it. I guess it gets into your system faster if you snort it than if you put the IV. And this is, we talked about form utility. That's part of the benefit the customers get. And different benefits for the product can have different benefit delivery systems. So, for example, if the benefit that I get from the coffee is a stimulating beverage, what are other alternative ways to get a stimulating beverage in the morning? Energy drink. So I've got the energy drink there, an energy drink, candy, and then Vivarin. You crack a couple of those in anything, and you got a stimulating beverage. Say again? Caffeinated tea. All of those. So looking at first, you have to identify what the core benefit is that your customer gets. Then you design a benefit delivery system around that core benefit. And then lastly, the augmented product is where we use the rest of the marketing mix to add value, to enhance share of wallet, we call it sometimes, satisfy more needs for the customer. So a cup of coffee, when I go to a Starbucks for a cup of coffee, what else do I get?
Scone.
Say again?
Scone.
I get a scone because I am British. I get Wi-Fi. Those are all parts of the experience and getting me into Starbucks for the core benefit, which is that steaming cup of deliciousness. And then I can either stay and spend more money on some other things, or I can leave and buy things. But the idea, we understanding that the product that I came in for, the benefit that I came in for was caffeine. And if you don't meet that need for me, you are not going to have me as a customer. So in order to get me that need, you have to design a benefit delivery system that will work. And then once you've got that relationship with the customer, then we can build on that relationship, try to sell different customers, try to keep them in the shop longer, so that, or sell different products to the same customers. I thought that was a little more helpful. Any thoughts, questions on what is a product? Pretty basic stuff here. Yeah.
In your core definitions, are you talking also about services?
So the question is, in the core definition, am I also talking about services? And the answer is yes. And we're going to talk about services in a minute. And again, this is, we have, us marketers have marketing academics, okay? Marketing academics have fun conversations that have, and one of those conversations is there, one argument is that all products are ultimately services. You know, even a can of pee is providing you nutrition service. And then others will say there's no such thing as an intangible product. And when we get to services, everything that we talk about here applies to services as well as physical products. And we're going to talk about services because when it comes to products that are primarily intangible, there's some other stuff that we can do to become more effective.